G'day legends, I hope that you're doing well. Tomorrow I'll have a much awaited interview podcast with a guy who many have been asking me to have on for a long time. But after that I'll be off for a few days as I'm flying to the United States, and it's a bloody long way from Australia. So it may be a few days before you see me again. But let's talk some news, some updates, and then we'll have a look at the maps and some changes that we're seeing. Now, the big news of the day is the International Criminal Court, the ICC, has issued an arrest warrant against Russian President Vladimir Putin and Russia's Commissioner for Children's Rights. This is on suspicion of unlawful deportation of children and unlawful transfer of people from the territory of Ukraine to the Russian Federation. They said the crimes were allegedly committed in Ukrainian-occupied territory at least from the 24th of February 2022. There are reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Putin bears individual criminal responsibility for the aforementioned crimes. And this is just some of the video released by the ICC.
The International Criminal Court has issued 2 warrants of arrest in the Ukraine situation for Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, and for Maria Lvova-Belova for the alleged war crimes of deportation of children from Ukrainian-occupied territories into the Russian Federation.
Now, forced deportation of populations is recognised as a crime under the Rome Statute that established the court. Russia was a signatory to the Rome Statute, but withdrew in 2016. Russia has said that it did not recognise the jurisdiction of the court, although Ukraine itself is not a signatory to the court in The Hague. It granted the ICC jurisdiction to investigate war crimes committed on its territory. Now, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that this is outrageous and unacceptable, also saying that Russia does not recognise the jurisdiction of this court, and so from a legal point of view, the decisions of this court are void. Now, the question is, will Putin actually be arrested? Well, first and foremost, Russia, like the United States and like China, is not a member of the ICC. Now, it is important to remember the tribunal, which has 123 member states, has no police force of its own and relies on these member countries to detain and transfer suspects to The Hague for trial. So, as long as Putin stays put in Russia or countries not within those member states, he faces little to no risk of being arrested. But he could be detained if he leaves the country. But as we know, Putin is unlikely to show up in a country that would want to put him on trial. But the symbolic messaging of this warrant can have a massive effect on people in positions of power, and this decision has been welcomed by world leaders, especially officials in Ukraine. Although this has sparked a lot of conversation about leaders such as President Bush or Blair, who people say by the same standard should be arrested and stand trial as well. Also, we have some incredible footage showing a huge fireball in the Dnipro region as a kamikaze drone slams into what is said to be an oil depot. Now, the Cube has geolocated this to here, what appears to show tanks potentially fuel, although it was reported in the beginning as an ammo depot. Also, a day after Poland announced that it would send 4 MiG-29 fighter jets in the coming days, Slovakia has pledged to transfer 13 MiG-29s from its arsenal as well. Prime Minister Edward Heger said, "Today the government decided and unanimously approved an international agreement." He also said, "The process of handing over these fighter jets is closely coordinated with the Polish side, with Ukraine, and of course with other allies." Now, Slovakia ordered F-16 fighter jets from the United States in 2018 to replace its aging MiG-29 planes, the ones being transferred to Ukraine. The first US-made F-16s are expected to arrive in 2024, but this is the second NATO country to supply fighter jets to Ukraine, although Soviet-era planes. With this decision, Slovakia will receive financial compensation from the EU. So 200 million euros from the EU and unspecified arms from the US worth 700 million euros. That was from Defense Minister Jaroslav Nad. Now, let's have a look at the maps. And as always, here we have Ukraine in the middle, capital of Kyiv, Romania, Moldova, Poland, Belarus, and Russia around here. Of course, the red territory, what Russia has taken since 2022, and the purple since 2014. So where we're going to come down, as always in the beginning, into Bakhmut, where we're seeing some fierce fighting and these borders continue moving. So today is the 18th of March. And if we roll back a day, we see some gain in the northwest to the south of Orakovo-Vasikivka, which we've seen a lot of fighting recently in this direction. But we can see that this border jumps up here, and we're seeing that that is directly in the direction of Kramatorsk, which we know is a major goal for the Russian forces in this region. But what we also see is, although this hard red line doesn't move, we see that this grey zone has jumped up and over this route from Kromove. Now, for a long time, this was the last remaining route in and out of Bakhmut, although it was said to be under fire control about a week ago. But as we can see, that at least the alleged control has jumped over that. And let's have a look on the ISW map, and it is not showing the same. It is not showing in the yellow, which is claimed Russian control. It's not showing it up to that, and the assessed is still very, very close, of course, but it is not showing up to there. In the north, where we see this road, in the south, where we see this road split, we're seeing similar with where the assessed and claimed control is. Excuse me, clicked off. So we see that the grey zone is further up, but the claimed and assessed control is similar to a degree. But as far as in Bakhmut itself, we have not seen any significant territorial changes. As always, let's compare this to the Rybar Russian sources map and see what is similar. So it is showing this orangey zone right up along this area of Kromove as well. And although the held control in a very similar picture, even as we see it come and loop around this reservoir dam here, that's the one that was said to be flooded, and it hasn't crossed up onto where this road splits on the second one as well. Although it is showing more of the actual controlled into Ivanovsky, but as always, these will always paint a very similar but different picture in a lot of ways. Also as well, there was some, at least, Russian gain on the map shown in Vuhledar. Now, we know that Russia has had not much success in Vuhledar with huge tank battles going south and losing a huge number of troops and equipment. But over the past 24 hours, if we go to the satellite, we see that Russia has moved up this tree line here slightly, and the grey zone has moved. And let's have a look on the ISW and see where this is telling a different story. So it is saying claimed control, but the assessed control is more along the lines of where it was yesterday. So we may see this jump and we may not. As always, the map's just slightly different. Now, something else I wanted to have a look at was in the front line of the Liman front line to the west of Kremenar and to the east of Liman. So this is what it's looking like on the deep state. But let's pull up the Liman one from Rybar, the Russian sources, and have a look. It is painting a very similar picture, although, in my opinion, does show that the Russian forces here are further west into this Torsky region in here than the deep state map is showing, and is showing a lot further in near Belohovka in the southern part of this as well. So it is always interesting to compare these and get an idea of what's going on and what differences are being shown. Now, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you're looking after yourself and keeping well. As I said in the beginning, I'll see you guys in a couple of days, but look out for the podcast tomorrow, as I think you'll find it very interesting. Someone who's a large following for this war and has some very interesting stories and opinions and knowledge of this. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next couple of days. Okay, bye-bye.